Glossier, the millennial chic brand that has revolutionized the skincare industry. Or have they? Because you see, they aren't just glossy, but their story is a little bit muddy as well. And today, that is what we are going to absorb into our brain cells and our pores. From being attacked by Drunk Elephant to racist allegations and the shutting down of their stores to a mysterious 50% off sale that magically vanished later in the afternoon. This is what nobody else will tell you about Glossier. I've been in the industry for over 10 years, and trust me when I say I've seen a lot, both in the business and corporate settings as well as in the influencer world. But before the medical aesthetics and the Forbes articles and the appearances on Good Morning America, I was a consumer first. I believe that people should have access to brands that serve their skin and match their morals and values, which is why I dig into the company ethics, the morals, the stories, the ingredient lists, and the formulations behind these brands. I pick apart what's inside of them to help you make educated and empowered choices. And this is what nobody else will tell you, because Glossier is a name that I'm sure we all know, or at least have heard of. You may recognize them for their effortless, minimal makeup, their I just woke up type looks, and even their ad campaigns that seem to be super inclusive, featuring different faces of real people wearing their cosmetics on billboards and New York City subways. They've been called a brand that has swept the beauty community off of their feet, based on the idea of trying new things, innovative skincare, and being just effortlessly chic. They claim to purify the definition of beauty. It is definitely an aesthetic in and of itself, but is it worth the hype, and is it worth your time and your money? Based on everything that's happened with this brand, does it get the Cass pass? Glossier all started in 2010 when Emily Weiss founded Into the Gloss. This is a blog and online publication that's still around today, covering beauty, technology, and news, all within the cosmetic, consumer, fashion, and beauty spaces. Into the Gloss is a thriving online beauty community. They post product reviews, beauty tips, different profiles, and even educational articles about everything skincare and beauty related. Eventually, the Into the Gloss team realized that they had something valuable, and that, especially back in 2010, these consumers' needs weren't being met. They had something that a lot of other cosmetic companies didn't: insight, and a direct line of communication with consumers about what they really want and where the industry is failing them. Only a few short years later, in 2014, Glossier was officially born. Emily Weiss, who is the founder and was the CEO, has even said that every single product has been a labor of love, from formulation to packaging to branding to the aesthetic of Glossier. It's like a creative roller coaster with new challenges that are thrown into each new development. It's developed with chemists and consumer input to be skincare that struts the line between beauty and function with grace and sass. And when you look at the bottles, it kind of does. They're really pleasantly packaged, they are kind of a nice surprise, and the formulas, we'll get to how they actually work a little bit later. A lot of Glossier's products, specifically their makeup, really focus on enhancing and accentuating the natural tone and texture of people's skin. It's the very I borrowed my boyfriend's t-shirt and his brow gel type of look, as well as this effortless, easy, no makeup but filtered, natural sort of aesthetic. It's a lot of minimal makeup and even lightweight skincare that is made to make you look like a dewy fairy. And I won't lie, their packaging does not disappoint. The bottles are fun, they are interesting, they are packaged very strategically. On the back of each dropper, they don't just have the name and key ingredients like other brands do, they actually have the benefits to the skin and how to apply them, along with some cute little emojis that just, you know, understand you. How relatable. It's not just their packaging, their marketing is actually quite special too. We see a lot of variation when it comes to body types, skin types, tones, ethnicities, sexualities, gender identities, etc., which is not shocking because it's literally indicative of the human population. However, in the realm of marketing and in the realm of what we're normally fed as beauty articles and advertisements, this is a shockingly stark contrast to what we see in traditional beauty marketing. Seeing the actual human population being represented in advertisements, it's sad to say that that is refreshing. Like, the bar in the beauty industry is so low that it's literally on the floor. Thank goodness Glossier easily stepped over it. This marketing and imagery really lines up with their philosophy of being innovative in the industry and restating beauty as something that is defined by the consumer, not by the corporations. However, the brand has faced some ups and downs in its first few years. Problem number one. Glossier has notably been accused of racism and discrimination, both in the corporate offices as well as in their retail stores. Over 50 employees came together to write a letter detailing the racial discrimination that they faced there, and how their managers wouldn't step up for them, how HR, human resources, wasn't giving them human resources, and about some of the questionable working conditions concerning rats and 30 people, one toilet bowl. Some of these specific incidents and occurrences that have been brought up do come with a trigger warning, so if you are a bit more sensitive or don't want to hear about these topics, feel free to jump to this timestamp. One employee there, who by the way their employees and their salespeople are called editors, details a time about a man felt entitled enough to massage one of the editors without her consent. There was another incident of a customer who grabbed a black editor by the face to show off this complexion to a friend. There was the repetitive permission of one customer to enter the store, one who specifically engaged with only Latinx workers who she would disparage as illegals. There was also a group of chaperoned white teens who would come in near the closing time and apply some of Glossier's darkest complexion products in a gleeful blackface. The article details that on most occasions, editors had come to expect no intervention and little recourse, not even the reassurance of their own safety. Many of the ex-employees or ex-editors there detailed how Glossier told them it was a privilege to work there, how many people wanted that job, holding it up as something elite and untouchable, and they should be grateful that they had it. And if they were to complain, that they could be quickly replaced. And I'm sorry, that doesn't sound like a workplace. It sounds like kind of an abusive relationship. Now, simultaneously, although this happened at some of the locations, I think specifically they noted in New York and LA, I understand that bad managers exist. And for the entire corporation to weed out every single bad manager can be difficult. Even the inner workings of Glossier were not much better. And this letter also addressed some really questionable hygiene issues, which, I don't know, for me as a consumer is concerning, specifically because they are selling me skincare. Like, if you go to a restaurant and the bathroom is nasty, you can probably bet on the fact that the kitchen is too. And when it comes to retail stores and skincare and beauty, is it much different? Maybe. That is a completely subjective statement and it is opinion. However, this letter did detail the rat feces that was a regular occurrence when they showed up to work. The letter stated the poor working conditions in many stores, including a broken air conditioner in the New York summer heat, which can get scorchingly hot, humid, and over 100 degrees. One story included a store with a single, frequently broken, toilet shared by 30 employees. I've lived with like 8 to 12 people before, and we couldn't handle 2 toilets. 30 employees? One toilet that's half the time broken? I am so sorry, ma'am. If you need to show up at work wearing a diaper because the toilet is broken, the problem is not your urinary system, it's the employer. And that's when the criticism of the cleanup comes in. Emily Weiss did apologize for these incidents and made a public statement on behalf of Glossier. And although proper recourse would have been to reprimand or even better yet, fire these managers and these systems that were not protecting employees, all of these stores had actually closed due to COVID. And because these allegations didn't come out until August of 2020, there wasn't much reprimanding that could be done. They did apologize, they did lay off their entire retail staff, but that has been met with criticism from some that it's not good enough. I believe in judging both corporations and individuals based on how they clean up messes, especially when how they caused it is not a direct reflection of the brand as a whole, but I do not know what it feels like to be in those editors' shoes. I decided to go online and look for other viewpoints and narratives. There was one person on Reddit who identified herself as a woman of color in the Glossier subreddit. Here's what she had to say about the matter. Literally, every brand is problematic, whether it be behind the scenes or the sourcing or the production of their products. I'm not saying don't hold them accountable when you can, but Glossier seems to have done what they could within reason. And this person on Reddit brings up a really good point. Sourcing, production, which brings us to the Glossier problem number 2, mica. In my book, part of ethical and cruelty-free beauty is ensuring that your ingredients and your products are ethically sourced. And Glossier uses mica, a beautiful, shimmery substance that is often seen in things like eyeshadows and highlighters, and yes, even in eye creams. But this pretty little shimmery compound is not that pretty when you actually find out where it's from. It's a common mineral throughout the beauty industry, arguably one of the most used, but also potentially one of the most harmful. The biggest issue comes from worker and child exploitation that it takes to mine this mica. Refinery 29 did an excellent journalism piece that actually went to to the source of these mines and detailed the child labor in person, as well as the trauma that the loss of life or some of these injuries have caused families. Of course, this is illegal. However, over 70% of mica mines in India are run illegally, which unfortunately is where the majority of mica production for cosmetics occurs. Indian law clearly states that children are prohibited from working in mining and other hazardous industries until they are 18. And yes, some of these children are still being exploited nonetheless. Some are as young as 5 years old. And unfortunately, these things continue to happen, even though they're illegal and even though the government is trying to crack down. But it's arguably because brands aren't doing enough to ensure that these things are harvested and sourced ethically. The fact of the matter is that brands aren't requiring guarantees that their raw ingredients are coming from non-human labor and non-exploitative sources. Mica does make an appearance in some Glossier products, specifically some of their lip and eyeshadow products, but thankfully Glossier does have a code of conduct in place for their suppliers, employees, and distributors. This code of conduct states that all suppliers for Glossier must operate in accordance with local laws, and that Glossier does have a zero-tolerance policy for violations of these laws. Simultaneously, after reading the whole thing, it looks to me like they're just trusting their suppliers to do the right thing. However, counter-argument, this is not just Glossier. They are one of literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of brands that are using mica from questionable sources. Only a few companies, such as Lush Cosmetics, have actually stepped up and agreed to not only use fair trade mica, but to third-party certify and vet those sources. This is not a Glossier fault, this is an industry standard. And the raw material suppliers, these mines, are making so much money that they have every excuse to lie, to fake documents, or to do what they have to continue using child and human labor at unfair costs so that they can reap the benefits. And until brands start stepping up and demanding more, until there are better third-party certifications in place, or until we have replacements for mica, I don't know how much is going to change. Does it mean that you as a consumer should feel guilty for that? No. You should be aware of when it's happening. You should try to make a choice as to what you are actively purchasing, but full transparency, there are mica in some of my products. I don't know where it comes from and I still use them. Does that mean email the brands or use your voice and influence on social media? Maybe start a petition? Absolutely. But it's going to be a long haul. And again, I don't think it's fair to blame Glossier for this, since they are not the one actively doing it. They are not the one purposefully supporting it. They do have laws and policies in place to fight against it, but unfortunately, it is a dirty, infiltrated, muddy secret of this entire industry. But Cassandra, the mica makes a larger appearance in the cosmetic and makeup products and not so much in the skincare. Well, fine, let's talk about my favorite part, the skincare, and whether or not it's actually worth the money. You see, this is problem number 3, the consensus about whether or not Glossier is actually good or if it's just overly fragranced crap. Is it worth the hype or is it a sour disappointment? It almost appears to me like their skincare is supposed to be kind of like makeup and vice versa. Their skincare definitely has fun packaging, and they definitely name the trendier or more searchable ingredients on their products, such as polyhydroxy acids and niacinamide. But do the formulas actually work? Some people say no. A lot of people have criticized the brand for having fragrances, since almost every single product is fragranced. And many people have stated that Glossier is a brand for people who don't have skin problems. For a while, Glossier specifically decided to not disclose the amount of active ingredients inside of their products, which made many people upset. And I'm not really sure whether or not they do now, but I also don't totally see that as a problem. If you're not looking for something that is super treatment based, a brand is under no obligation to tell you exactly what percent of niacinamide is in that product or exactly what percent of vitamin C. Is it nice to know? Absolutely. But even the percent of vitamin C won't tell you how deep it penetrates into the skin. You would need to know pH and pKa value for that. And you know that people here are skintellectuals. We love turning and learning our ingredients lists and getting curious, but that list doesn't tell us absolutely everything. And outside of our beautiful butterfly community, a lot of people don't understand that, and they judge things purely based on what the bottle says on the front, and they get super bothered if they don't know the exact percent. Is it nice to know? Absolutely, but this is probably also a percentage secret that allows Glossier's products not to be ripped off or copied by someone else. Is competition in the marketplace a good thing? Absolutely. I feel like Glossier could use a little bit of competition. The first one that comes to mind is kind of Glow Recipe, although they are very different. They're more K-beauty, but still kind of targeting that young millennial, but simultaneously, I don't blame the brand for not openly disclosing that on every single product every single time. And even when it comes to fragrances, you know that I don't hate fragrance in skincare. If you have a skin allergy or a skin concern, then definitely avoid it. The research needs to be redone, but right now the data says that under 5% or maybe a little bit more than 5% of people actually have issues. And if you talk to a dermatologist, their job is literally to deal with skin issues and irritations, many of which can come from sensitizing and irritating ingredients. So yes, your dermatologist's advice should always be followed, but note that they are seeing a much higher incidence of some of these cosmetic reactions. And the truth is that a person is not going to use a product if they don't like the way it looks and feels and works on their skin. And for many people, fragrance is a part of that, especially because unfragranced products often smell stank, like stanky dank, and a lot of people don't even realize that some fragrance-free products have essential oils, other plant compounds, other aromatic alcohols that actually give it a scent. There's even a masking scent that can be put in to mask the smell of the natural smell. So an unscented could technically be scented, it just doesn't have a fruity floral smell. That's a whole different video that we've actually done a video on, but again, I don't think Glossier should be blamed for that. Simultaneously, there are still critics online who say that Glossier broke them out or gave them skin problems, and unfortunately, when you try any new product, that is a possibility. I, having grown up with acne, understand that. I also understand the fear of not wanting to try a new product or being hyper afraid of what I put on my face based on my acne. As a medical esthetician, as an adult who's been through it, as your acne big sister, I can also look at the situation a little bit more objectively and realize that that doesn't apply to everyone. And for someone who does have sensitive or acne-prone skin, this might not be the best choice for you. And when it comes to skin problems, we actually have to talk about that in their inclusive advertising. Because yes, their advertising is inclusive of humans, but, and this is again where I get hypercritical about my idealistic version of the world, their advertisements really don't show a lot of skin texture, condition, or other variations. Where's the acne? Where are the wrinkles? Where is the eczema and the hyperpigmentation? All of their models, as diverse and human representative as they may be, still technically have this glossy skin. And it's kind of pushing this idea of what good skin should be. A little bit poreless, a little bit dewy, just this one look. And again, if you are looking for a canvas that is great under a little bit of natural makeup, then fine. But if you've got major skin conditions and concerns, this brand might not be. Not to mention, Glossier has been attacked by Drunk Elephant. Now, all of the things we're bringing up about Glossier are arguably trivial. If we talk about Drunk Elephant, oh, that is a whole other safari. That is a journey over there, which yes, we have already done a deep dive on. Drunk Elephant is not the elephants that are drunk. National Geographic and Refinery29 have dismissed that. The founders are drunk, and Glossier actually came under attack from them. A comment from the Drunk Elephant account was making an argument based on a consumer, and they were directly attacking Glossier for copying Drunk Elephant's aesthetic, which arguably they are not. Remember, Drunk Elephant is the brand that thinks that all skin conditions are caused by the exact same reason, and that you can't have fragrance or specific actives that are actually proven by science in your products, because they will destroy you, and you can only use Drunk Elephant products with other Drunk Elephant products. You can't use anything else, which means give them more money. I have thoughts. You can go watch that video. However, Drunk Elephant appears to have some burner accounts in which they are posting as innocent customers, just leaving regular reviews, and really bashing Glossier. Looks like they forgot to switch accounts and actually posted this from the official Drunk Elephant account before swiftly deleting it. Love that for her. Glossier reminds me of the mean girl in the beauty industry who actually ended up being kind of nice. She's the mean one, she's a little bit bratty, she has that sorority aesthetic, and she is definitely in with the popular kids. She might kind of stand around and give people the stink eye, but when you actually drop your books in the halls or when you actually need help on your homework, she doesn't mind giving you her notes. Her notes might not be that good, they're not gonna get you an A+ in differential geometry, but at least they'll give you the basics. And if you can kind of fend for yourself and pick what from those notes you do and don't like, you might be able to find things that do work for you. Glossier does really remind me of a living millennial mood board. I I kind of feel like it's for the same person. If you're someone who is not struggling with major skin conditions and issues, if you like that kind of natural look, if you identify as a millennial, this could be for you. As long as you're not someone who's irritated by fragrance and you're okay with the way that Glossier handled that employee situation. Glossier is definitely made for the millennial in mind, and again, it's kind of made consumer first. Remember, this started as a website, Into the Gloss, and it was literally because of listening to consumers about what the market was missing that they were able to create these things. Their products range from around $10 for a mini cleanser all the way up to $60 or $70 for some of their limited edition items, and most land squarely in the middle. Honestly, that is normal to prestige pricing, and it's not completely outrageous, especially for what you're getting. Some of the products were a personal miss for me. For example, the Milk Jelly Cleanser was really not my jam, or my jelly, or my peanut butter. The Priming Rich Moisturizer was not my favorite, and even the Milky Oil kind of missed the mark, but some of their other options are not bad. I would actually highly recommend the Solution from Glossier. It's really innovative packaging, and it has a trifecta of amazing ingredients: AHA, BHA, and PHA. Really great at declogging pores, helping with a little bit of oil control and exfoliation in the skin, and it's not overly stripping either. Again, it does have fragrance, so if you're super sensitive to that, be aware, but this is probably one of my favorite products from the entire line. They also have these droppers, which are pretty good. The Super Pure is their niacinamide and zinc serum that I've actually compared head to head to the Ordinary's niacinamide and zinc. There is a video there listed for you if you want to watch that and see how they stack up. I've also tried their Super Glow Vitamin C. It's a really nice texture. It does absorb well. It's not my favorite vitamin C in the world, but it's not bad, and I think it's worth the money. And one of my favorite products from them actually is the Super Bounce. It's the hyaluronic acid and vitamin B5 serum. I find that it absorbs well, it brings hydration and moisture to the skin. Hyaluronic acid has a very short half-life, so a lot of hyaluronic acid products need to be constantly reapplied and need to lock them in with a moisturizer, and I find that although you still need to do that, it's not as bad with this product. It does have a small amount of hydroquinone, so it's also really good for anyone who struggles with pigmentation. But what was even more exciting than these products was when these products were on sale. In March of this year, there was a mysterious 50% off sale that started to shake the internet. Glossier accidentally gave everyone 50% off of their products, and nobody knows why, until it majestically disappeared a couple of hours later. And needless to say, people started to flock to the website, adding things to carts, even selling some out. Until a little bit later that day, some people who had already been working their way through that checkout line realized that the code no longer existed. The sale was good, but let me tell you, the memes were even better. People were excited. People were tweeting, as people on Twitter do. People were sharing the links and starting to post on social media. And some people speculated as to why this was happening. Was this a strategic PR move? Was this something that Glossier was going to announce later? Was this a complete accident that was leaked to the internet? And even more concerningly, if Glossier didn't know about this, since they never stated this publicly or shared it publicly, are they going to demand refunds from everybody who purchased these things? Since 50% is pretty steep, are they even going to be making a profit? Glossier later confirmed that yes, the sale was legit, but no, it was not on purpose, but by mistake. But they were planning to fulfill all those orders. They weren't going to force anyone to have a refund, and that means a lot of people got 50% off of their Glossier orders, which, not gonna lie, I kind of wish that I were a part of that Twitter party. If you're someone who wants that modern, minimal look from a vegan, cruelty-free brand that arguably does it pretty well, yeah, then okay. As long as you don't have major issues or things to treat, or you don't have a major glaring skin concern. The way I found out about Glossier was because someone that I had worked with in the past to actually create a show. We did a show called Cassandra to the Rescue, if you didn't know. I didn't like the title. I actually didn't choose the title, but it was one of my favorite shows to date because it highlighted real women, their skin stories, and showed them how to feel empowered by their makeup and cosmetics, and then wear that empowerment even when the makeup was off. And one of the people that I got to work with on that project was now employed at Glossier and invited me in to sit on their cute little pink chair made from recycled plastic bottles, which arguably was really cool, but was also probably a giant waste of money. I don't know, at least they're recycling? I was able to try a few more of the products. I was able to kind of experience the line a little bit more. I had had some ideas about interviewing some of the models that were on their campaigns and talking about what it felt like to be represented in their own skin. But even after like 6 to 10 emails, that person never got back to me. I don't blame that person, she's busy. The stars just didn't align. Or the lid stars didn't align, should I say. Most of the stuff that I've gotten in PR was makeup. Since then I've purchased quite a few things on my own, specifically the solution. But again, when it comes to like their cleanser, wasn't super impressed. Their zit stick thing, wasn't super impressed. Their super bounce your way into my pilosebaceous unit. You milky goddess of vitamin B. You can hyaluronic my acid any day. So Glossier as a whole seems to be a little bit more form over function, but that is okay. Overall, does Glossier actually get the CAS pass? Again, they're vegan, they're cruelty free. It seems like they have some fun formulations, but their formulations really aren't innovative. And there are some issues when it comes to human rights violations, whether it's from mining mica or it was on the floors in New York City and LA with actual employees. I do think that the brand did their best to handle it, and their marketing. It is arguably much more inclusive than other marketing in the makeup and beauty spaces. However, it's still not as inclusive of different skin as it could be. But again, that's probably me being hypercritical. I think that Glossier has handled a lot of their criticisms very well. There's only so much that you as a company can have thrown at you, and I do believe that they are trying to fix the problems and pick up the pieces, whether it's pieces of mica or pieces of rat. And again, it's not Glossier's fault that the bar is literally on the floor. I'm just glad that they have not stooped to that level and they actually stepped a little bit up and over it. In their nude Yves Saint Laurent faux leather pump, might I add. Is that what millennials wear? Or are they in sneakers nowadays? Would it be like an Adidas sports shoe? Somebody correct me. So at this point, yes, Glossier does get the CAS pass. I do love a lot of their products, and while there is always room for improvement, I feel like the brand has listened to both their consumers and those areas that they can grow. I'm excited to see what comes next. I hope that they do a few more things that are actually revolutionary when it comes to their product selection, but I also can't hate on them for being unauthentically who they want to be. If there's another brand that we need to do a deep dive on, or you need the info as to what no one else will tell you, be sure to leave it in the comments below. And there's actually an entire playlist of the brands that we have dissected and dug apart, explaining to you the industry secrets that a lot of these brands try to keep behind closed doors, or sealed packages. Overall, always remember to be beautiful both inside and out, put your money where your morals are, and I cannot wait to see you in this next video. Love you guys. Bye.